Welcome to eDay2. We are going to review slide and divide to factor today. You're going to need to slide and divide when there's a number in front that is not 1. Another way you know you need to slide and divide is when the GCF is 1. So we'll always check for a GCF, but I'm going to let you know that all our problems today and in our homework all have a GCF of 1. So today's lessons all slide and divide. So if you remember, we are going to take our two numbers here, and we're going to slide them over and multiply. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then when we rewrite our problem, we are not going to use the 3 and 4 from the original problem. We drop down our x squared, we drop down our negative 8x, and then we're going to use that positive 12. This is now a problem that has a lead coefficient of 1, which is really easy to factor. We go to factoring like this, like we reviewed yesterday. We want to know what multiplies to 12 and adds to negative 8. So our job is going to be to list the factors of 12. You can pause this video and write down the factors, or you can do it along with me. We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So which combination would work out to get us to 8? And that's going to be 2 and 6, but what we need to do is think about our signs. For our signs, they're both going to be negative. And we always want to double check. If we do negative 2 plus negative 6, do we get negative 8? If we do negative 2 times negative 6, do we get 12? Once you have that, we're going to put those into our parentheses. But remember, we are not done. We slid and now we have to divide. So what do we divide by? It's that lead coefficient, the number in front. So we're going to divide by our 3. This is where in the calculator, I always want you to check with alpha y equals to reduce them. Sometimes they need to be reduced, other times they divide nicely. For this one, 2/3 it doesn't reduce, and this is where we do our bottoms up. And that would be 3x minus 2. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so we have x minus 2. All right, that is our factored form. And this is factored form. I should probably write it equal to 0. But if we need to solve, we set each parenthesis equal to 0. And so we're going to take this parenthesis over to the side and set it equal to 0. And then we're going to take our next parenthesis, set it over to the side, and set it equal to 0 and solve. So to solve each of these, I'll zoom in here for this first one. First thing we're going to do to undo that minus 2 is going to be add 2 to both sides. And we get 3x equals 2. To undo the multiplication, we are going to divide. And one of our solutions is 2/3. On the next one, if we want to get our x by itself, we are going to add 2 to both sides, and you will get x equals 2. So our two solutions are x equals 2/3 and x equals 2. Some of your homework problems are just going to ask you to factor, and you're going to know it's multiple choice answers, so you'll be able to tell by if the answer choices if they want you to factor, or over here, these problems are asking you to solve. Let's go ahead and try another one. Make sure that we're confident with our slide and divide. Okay, first thing, do we have a number in front other than 1? Yes. Check the GCF. The GCF in this problem is 1. That means we are going to slide and divide. First thing we have to do is slide over, and we're going to do 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. And then we're going to rewrite our problem. We drop down our x squared, we drop down to the negative 3x, and then we drop down our negative 4. This now has a lead coefficient of 1, which means we can go right into our factoring. We want to know what multiplies to negative 4 and adds to negative 3. There's two ways to multiply to 4. One of them is 1 and 4, and the other is 2 and 2. Which combination would help us add to a -3? And that's going to be our 1 and 4. But what we need to do now is think about our signs. We want to add to be a -3. So it's going to be a -4. And I want you to always check this. No need to continue if you don't check to make sure things add and multiply correctly. So next what we're going to do is put those two into our parenthesis, x plus 1 and x minus 4. Now if I remember from class, sometimes people forgot and they wanted to be done. Remember, if you're going to slide, you also have to divide. And what we divide by is that lead number, that 2 in front. And so now this is where I want you to check for your alpha y equals. And see if things can get reduced. This does not get reduced, it stays at 1/2, and this other one does reduce to -2. Now here's a little hint. If you didn't want to solve, I know some of you would look at, this is technically our factored form right here. I should probably write that down. This is our factored form. Some of you are going to want to solve in a quick shortcut. And remember how we always took the opposite? So here, if you want to solve, we get -1/2. You take the opposite. And here, if we wanted to solve, we take the opposite, which is a +2. That is our solved answers. The only problem is the one that we have in our factored form is not actually complete. So here, factored form means we still have to do our bottoms up. And this would be 2x plus 1 and x minus 2. I wanted to show you the idea, though, that sometimes getting the solved version is faster to do before you finish factoring, when you find out what your two answers are. Now, some of you might not want to do that, and you might just want to get your completely factored form and set each parenthesis equal to 0 and solve. And if you did that, you would subtract 1. So 2x equals -1 and divide by 2. And that's also how you get that -1/2, just like we had. And then you can take your other one and get it equal to 0, or solve for x, by adding 2, and you get x equals 2, which is the same as what we had over there. So just giving you another option. Now this next problem, I want you to pause the video. I want you to try to do this one on your own, and then come back and check your answer with me. So pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see if you did it correctly. First thing we're going to do is our slide over. So 12 times 2 is 24. And then we're going to go ahead and rewrite our new equation, which is x squared plus 11x plus 24. Factoring, we want to think of what multiplies to 24 and adds to 11. Your factors are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. 3 and 8 are going to be our combination that will add to 11 and multiply to 24. So x plus 3 and x plus 8. Now we slid, don't forget to divide. When you were doing your problem by yourself, did you check on your calculator with the alpha y equals? Let me see if I can find my calculator here and try that. Okay, so second alpha y equals, it does do that for us. It sets it up for us. Let me go back and find out. So 3 over 12. Mine, sorry, is now kind of on its side by 3 over 12. Oop, if it gives it to you as a decimal, what we want to do is math. So math is right underneath that green alpha. And the first one says fraction, to hit fraction, so 1/4. So alpha y equals You know what? Let's try this one and see if that works. Alpha y equals 3 over 12. Still gives us a decimal. Okay, so you want to go to math, which is right under that green alpha, and just hit enter, and it'll change your decimal to a reduced fraction. So this reduced fraction is 1/4. Now let's go ahead and do our 8/12. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to clear what I have. We can do our alpha y equals 8 over 12. Hit enter, and gives us a decimal. Decimals don't work. So you want to find math. Math is the fourth one down, right underneath that green alpha. It should already be on fraction. Just hit enter, and it's going to reduce that fraction for you. And that gives us 2/3. So x plus 2/3. Now remember, if the problem wants you to solve it also, it might be easier to get your solved answer here. Just take the opposite. So the opposite of a 1/4 is a negative 1/4. Opposite of 2/3 is negative 2/3. That's your solved answer. We still have to finish our factored form. Factored form always wants us to do our bottoms up. So we have to slide that denominator up, so 4x plus 1 and 3x plus 2. And this is what they would call our factored form. Now just remember to read the directions, or you'll be able to tell from your homework if they want the factored form or the solved answer based on the multiple choice answers. Your homework is in your quizzes. If you go to your Schoology, which is where you're finding this video here, if you go to our class, period 3, this is our day 2. So you're going to click on the link in the agenda. It won't work for mine, but you're going to click on this eDay2 homework. It should bring you to the quizzes website. Like I said, mine won't work because I'm the teacher, but you're going to click on that homework. You must do all of your work on a separate sheet of paper. On the separate sheet of paper, you are going to submit it here. You're going to submit it to the homework on Schoology. So you take a picture and you're going to submit your homework. You must have work and correct work for all 15 problems. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions. You can see today I have office hours from 11:30 to 12:30. I'll be on Zoom for your class, but I'm available via email, Schoology, or Zoom from 11:30 to 2:30.